Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Leading Edge Cricket Podcast. Today we're going to be breaking down what's gone on. A resurgent, a new look England team, minus Broad and Anderson taking the field and looking good in the West Indies. Good. I don't know what to do about this. They look good. Also taking a look at what's going on. Big series going on between Pakistan and Australia. Take a look, if we've got time, for the India Test match against Sri Lanka. That Sri Lankan opener unit that I said was the best in world cricket. Let's have an honest conversation about how that's gone, Bobby. And we're going to start off, one, welcoming Rich to the podcast. Rich, welcome.
Hi. How we doing?
Two, starting in a little bit of sorrow. We've not caught up, and it feels news cycles go on so fast, and it will come round again when funerals are coming. But Rich, we've had a couple of big passings in the world of cricket over the last week, and it'll be good just to chat about who they are, what's gone on, and kind of what their legacy is to us as middle-aged. Are we middle-aged? We might be middle-aged English white males that have loved cricket for many years.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I mean, Australia, obviously everyone will have known by now, but we've not been on for a couple of weeks for one reason or another. And they had an awful couple of days, didn't they? Rod Marsh, absolute legend of the game, 74-year-old, 355 dismissals in 96 Test appearances for Australia. One of the finest keepers to ever played the game. Obviously had stints in and around the English cricket setup as well. He passed away after a heart attack in Australia. One of the last actions of Shane Warne was to send a tweet, or at least his last tweet was to send a tweet, a really heartfelt tweet about Rod Marsh, the importance of him. And then the same day, or on the same date, but obviously different part of the world, at Shane Warne's holiday in Koh Samui in Thailand, he's passed away as well. And it was just shocking. You saw the news come out, and it was one of those ones where you're like, nah, that's not happened. Yeah. No. And you're checking half a dozen different sources. You know, it's like, no, I'm not taking the word of this guy. And it's like, oh, but it's a really, really well clued in guy. And yeah, Shane Warne passed away, 52 years old. It was one of the, like I said, one of the most shocking bits of news I've heard in a long time. And in the world, obviously, we're having so much bad news at the moment, especially what's going on in Ukraine. But Shane Warne, from a cricket perspective, was just, it's difficult to put into words, isn't it? Simple as that. I don't think anybody can underestimate the importance he was to everybody. Australia, obviously, but England, we have a love-hate, I think, didn't we, with him? He's one of those. It's when we have the Ashes, it's all about trying to, you know, have that fun, isn't it, with England, Australia, and kind of have criticize people and just all that. But it was love, simple as that with Warney. As a player, commentator, personality, the more stories you hear about him, the greater the person he was, arguably, than the player. Yeah, it was heartbreaking, really, isn't it, Rob?
Yeah, that's nicely put. I did exactly the same thing as you. I saw something on Twitter about 7 o'clock in the morning when I wake up, I have a quick swipe, and I was like,
nah.
Yeah, and it was a stop sort of moment. Yeah. And there's not many of them that happen from time to time. Michael Jackson, maybe one. I don't know. I might be reaching a little bit. It's like, where were you when Jacko passed? But it was, and Warney was such a guy who was immensely talented. He rubbed shoulders with the best in cricket. He rubbed shoulders with the richest men and women in the world, and parted with rock stars. And he was bigger than cricket. And I don't think, in fact, I'll go as far as to say he's the only one that has transcended cricket in the Western world. And everyone knew who Warne was. My wife hates sport and went, oh, Shane Warne. She went, is he the Aussie cricketer? And I'm like, yes, he is. So it's just hard to put into words that someone's 52 years old and then this has happened to them, especially because what happens with sport is you put people on such pedestals in life for so many years, and you've grown up watching them, idolizing them, and hating them but respecting them, and just hard to take. It genuinely was hard to take.
Yeah, I mean, we've had so many great memories, haven't we? Obviously, his first ball in English cricket, the ball of the century against Gatting, that just catapulted into the stratosphere of stardom straight away. Doffing his cap to the English fans when we're singing "We Just Wish You Were English." Treading on his stumps in that game in the 2005 Ashes when they needed about I don't know how many runs they needed to win, but not many after he got himself into the 90s. Never scored a Test century. It's absolutely brutal. Only got 2 centuries in first-class cricket, and that's all we can say batting-wise. But he was a really, really good batsman as well as obviously an incredible bowler. I think for us as well, I was thinking about this. I think the closest interaction I ever got with Shane Warne personally was me and you were at a first-class game at Notts one day. I don't know if you remember, Rob. Sat in the pavilion, the members bit at Trent Bridge. Michael Clarke's batting. Shane Warne sat on the pavilion with his feet up. The balcony is just above you, isn't it? And I think we're sat there in the afternoon session. Michael Clarke's on a decent 100, and he suddenly kind of starts clapping out of nowhere after Michael Clarke's probably worked a 2 or something. And he's like, 100 runs in a session. Come on, knowledgeable Trent Bridge crowd, 100 runs in a session. And we're like, oh, shit. Oh yeah. Somebody was paying attention there, wasn't it? But it just showed you that love, just that love and just that knowledge. And you never knew what was going on all the time, didn't he? Yeah. Absolutely knew, just absolute legend. Played for joy as well, didn't he? There's a great little story recently about, I can't remember who it was, but just saying about how he'd funneled a plate of chips down his neck just before he went out to play. And he was like, chips make me happy. If I don't have chips, I'm not happy. If I'm happy, I play better. And it's like, give him his chips. It's fine. He'll be right. He'll be right. So, huge sadness, really, with Rod Marsh and Shane Warne. Let's hope it stays there. There's nobody else coming around the corner. We don't want anybody else at the moment.
No, you don't. You don't want to say these things come in threes or anything like that. He's going to be missed. He's going to be missed. The cricketer, the legacy of him as a cricketer is going to live on for a hell of a long time. There'll be more stories that come out about him now he's passed, about his life. And I think it's really interesting. I really liked him as a pundit, but he did some things, and he was just very real and open and honest and vulnerable at times in his approach to things. And I really appreciated that. And, this guy's the greatest spin bowler of all time. Sunil Gavaskar, I'm looking at you when I say that, Sunil. He is the greatest spin bowler of all time. There's beef there. And he could have been anyone or any way or acted however he wanted, but he acted as a bloody good bloke when it came to cricket with everyone he interacted with. And that's a pretty decent legacy to have for the greatest spin bowler of all time.
Absolutely. Every man. Shall we just link it on a little bit? Just there's some very important cricket going on, isn't there? Before we get on to England, West Indies, which obviously is the main topic for us today. But Pakistan are hosting Test matches, Rob, and they're hosting Australia. So I think it's right and proper that we do just talk about that briefly.
Road.
I think you're probably right.
It was an absolute road, mate. So I was really looking forward to this. I really got into the PSL this year and really kind of have got into Pakistan cricket, particularly since the stuff kicked off about teams not going and touring when they're committed to tour through reasons that are just pretty average. But the cricket has probably been amazing for the people of Pakistan and the fans that's allowed in the ground. I think they've got a COVID outbreak over there at the moment that's quite severe, and that's limiting people in the ground. That's my understanding of what's going on. I haven't got people on the ground. However, I do work with a couple of guys in Pakistan at the moment. The pitch just let the atmosphere and build up. It just took it all away from me, Rich. It's like rolling back, when you think like early 2000s and you just see Runfest and Matthew Hayden smashing 380 against Bangladesh on, the local main road that's running straight through. It had a little bit of a feel of that. There wasn't a lot in it for spin. However, nods should go to Numan Ali, who got 6 wickets. It was just slow, methodical batting. 476 for 4 declared 476 for 4 off 162 overs. Plays Australia's 459, mate.
And including a run out. I think there was only 13 wickets taken in the game and 1 run out. So 14 wickets in the whole Test match, wasn't it? So Imam Ul Haq 157, Azhar Ali 185 with the big runs as well. I think the main point to take away from this, isn't it? Yes, the Rawalpindi pitch was a road. Yes, it was a shame that you didn't really get a pitch that would have given a better result or more of an exciting encounter. But cricket, Test match cricket, is back in Pakistan, and that's the biggest takeaway for me in that first game.
And we should doff that cap because you know all runs in later life are equal. That's the thing. You may look at them for a period of time while you're talking about it, and you go, well, you know what? We didn't score runs in India. I'm talking about England here. We couldn't score runs in India or against New Zealand, but we scored some runs against the West Indies. So we're a better batting unit now, apparently. And, you know, in time, all we're going to look at is that Australia toured Pakistan. Imran ul-Haq got a couple of hundreds. They had a 252-run opening stand on day 5 of a test match. When was the last time that happened? Nice. And Australia ended up bowling 9 different bowlers in the third innings on the 5th day. Like, what do you remember from it? You just remember a lot of runs, and one at the time, which has since been rectified, which made me quite sad actually, was Usman Khawaja's 97. Great knock for Pakistan-born Usman Khawaja. Speaks great Urdu in everyday life and on his YouTube channel, but has subsequently rectified that and scored a big 160 in the second test.
Yeah, it was so heartbreaking, really, for him. Was it disappointing for him to see him get out on 97? So it was so nice to see in the second test that he has got himself 100. I just need to, you mentioned that 252-run opening stand as well on the 5th day. Abdullah Shafiq, 136 unbeaten, and Imam ul-Haq, 111 not out to go with his first innings century as well. So he's had himself one hell of a test match. He's happy the Aussies are in town. And the second test is well underway, isn't it? We're into day 3, 556 for 9 declared for Australia, 160, as we said, for Usman Khawaja, the great story of it. Alex Carey, 93. I think the jokes are that he took a step in the right direction for Australia in this inning, rather than a step in the wrong direction and falling into a swimming pool. Hopefully everybody's seen that. If you haven't, try and go and find the video. Alex Carey, swimming pool. Everybody has to. I've got to admit, I did it once when I was a kid. But only one leg went into the pool. Somehow I pulled my body out before I went in level. Just got ready to go out, all done, nicely dressed up as about a 10-year-old, looking smart, and suddenly got too close to the swimming pool, walking around it. Alex, we've all been there.
We've all been there. And you know what? Second test might be a little bit more entertaining, mate, because we've had 2 days of Australia batting, 556 for 9, Khawaja with 100, and everyone really cashing except Marnus taking ran to the extreme and ran himself out for none, purely down to himself. But time of recording, Pakistan 70 for 4 off 27 overs, mate. Shafiq gone, Hassan gone, Azhar Ali, who batted superb in that first test, and Fawad Alam gone. So it's down to Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan. It's like a T20 game, mate. It's down to those two.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. I mean, Imam ul-Haq, bless him, after 2 centuries, you're going to have to get one, aren't you? I mean, let's see how this game goes. I mean, it's set up for Australia to win now, isn't it? They've got the big score on the board. You could argue it was a bit of a negative declaration. They could have done it earlier, but they've got the runs on the board. Their plan now will be obviously to bowl Pakistan out twice if the pitch is willing. And that's a huge, huge question, isn't it?
One point. Mitchell Swepson on debut. First Australian leg spinner to debut since 2013, was it? Or 2009? I can't remember the exact stat, but it's a long time since someone's debuted as a leggy for Australia, and it's quite fitting there's a leggy debuting for Australia just after Warne.
Yeah, well spotted, mate. Well spotted, yeah. Hopefully he has a bit of success. They've gone through their spinners. Is it Nathan Lyon apart? They've had some trash spinners in Australia over the years.
They did. It's a bit like New Zealand when they had Richard Hadley for all those years, like world-class seamer. He retires, and then it's like Chris Harris steaming in 70 mile an hour.
Yeah. So will Mitchell Swepson take 708 test wickets, 293 ODI wickets, 1,319 first-class wickets, and get anywhere near Shane Warne?
I tell you what, if it's about 5,000 to 1 odds, I'd stick a fiver on.
Absolutely. So that's where we are with Australia, Pakistan. Hopefully, we're going to get more of a chance of a positive result in that second test. Obviously, I think there's a third test coming as well in that series. Shall we get on to what's been going on? Talking of pretty unresponsive tracks, shall we get on to talking about how England are getting on and West Indies are getting on in the test series?
I would love to, mate.
Love to. He would love to. Okay. So, I mean, first, we know it was a drawn game. We know it was pretty much a relatively straightforward drawn game in a lot of respects, wasn't it? There wasn't really a team that was close to victory. And I want to talk about that at some point as well, about how the fact that in that last hour, England continued into the last over of the last hour needing 6 wickets still for victory. And
yes.
I know Carlos Brathwaite in the comms box was very, I don't want to say very upset, but he was a little bit like, the West Indies are going to take a little bit of umbrage to this. Not a cool thing from Joe Root. I understand why he did it. You could take 6 wickets in the last over, Joe. But as Carlos said, if that would have been India or Australia or something, they'd have probably shook hands an hour, 3/4 an hour, half an hour earlier.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. If I'm West Indies, I'm going to take that as a little bit of motivation going into the second test. But let's have a look at what happened in that first one anyway, Rob. Where do you want to start with this one? Do you want to run through just in order of the game, or how do you want to look at it, mate?
I think let's talk through. England's the key point for us here, eh? We're 2 English boys. Let's talk through maybe starting off with the openers and what we got out of the openers. And as a batting unit, I think we've got to take positives that this is an England team that could barely score 200 in Australia. And we scored 311 and 349 for 6.
Yeah.
Different bowling attack, different conditions, but in time, all runs are equal. And I felt pretty optimistic that we've come away with a game where Johnny Bairstow scored 100, Zach Crawley scored 100, and Joe Root scored 100. That's 3 of your top 6. Also, what's important from that, one of your openers has scored 100, which I forgot what one of them is. And number 3 scored 100, which is Joe Root going back in to bat at number 3 and taking one for the team.
If only we'd had Joe Root at number 3 all these years, Joe. Never mind. Yeah, it's been positive, hasn't it? I think that one of the biggest positives I take from this is that this did go into a very, very easy, no one was going to win this draw. And that's on the back of England starting the game on 48 for 4 in 15 overs. The same old problem, wasn't it? Lees and Crawley went early. Root didn't last long. He left one like I did at my first nets last night. Got off stump went. Then you've got the likes of Stokes, etc., coming in. Ben Folkes coming in. He's your man. I mean, we had Ben Folkes standing up to Chris Woakes in this game. That's what we love to see. Don't know who that, if we're talking positive about Folkes or a little bit of a negative about Woakes. Not sure. But it's good to see still. Bairstow, 140. It's so good, isn't it? It's what we spoke about before. Leave him at number 6. Don't be tempted to fiddle. Don't put him as an opener. Don't put him anywhere else. Number 6, leave the gloves away from him. Just lock his gloves away.
This is Bairstow solidified back in the team. Yes, he got that 100 at Sydney and scored 41. But since then, he scored 106 in the warm-up. Then he's gone and scored this 140 in a little cameo 15 not out in the second innings. But don't you just feel like this is it? This is a man in 2016, mate. He scored 1,470 runs, an average of 58, 3 centuries, 8 50s. You're talking someone that went from world class and saw his average go 34, 30, 18, 24, in and out the team. Just give the guy a position and let him run with it. Now he's in the position batting at 6, I think it is.
Yep.
He averages over 40 at number 6 from 30 test matches for England in his career, 4 centuries. That's someone who's played a lot of cricket in that role, knows how to play that. He can play the counter-attacking game beautifully. He plays spin wonderfully. And I just feel this is a very, very good time to be him. Look at this. He averages 46 against leg spin. He averages 50 against off spin. That's in his career. This is a guy that had 4 years of an absolute barren spell. And he averages 44 against left-arm Chinaman and 39 against orthodox. He's great for England in this role.
Yeah, he's found his game. He's understood it. One of the conversations we were having about Josh Buttler, not trying to compare the two forever and ever, but we spoke about it on the back of Ramprakash as well as the interview, where Buttler never really worked out what his plan was in Test cricket unless it was a 4th innings chase. Bairstow knows his game now. He knows it inside out. And I know he still wants the wicketkeeper gloves, but honestly, don't change a thing. For the foreseeable future, I can't see a future at the moment where you would look at doing anything different with Johnny Bairstow than say you're number 6 and you're not taking the gloves. It's simple as that. If we want a keeper, we'll bring another keeper in if Folkes isn't fit. Bairstow maybe is an emergency, but just leave it. He's had too much of a career where he's been all over. He's probably batted from 1 to probably 8.
3 to 8. He's batted in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Has he never opened?
No.
I always thought
how?
But
how do you not? How do you play cricket and not open for England? That's the question.
Well, huge question, isn't it? Because I mean, how many conversations have we heard about people saying, "I'd put Bairstow as opener"? No, look, this is where he is. It was absolutely just brilliant to see him score this 140 off 259 deliveries. It built this innings, didn't it? 311. I can't remember how long ago it was, but 300. England scored 300. It was a joyous occasion. West Indies, I was impressed with Jaden Searles, young seamer. He got himself 4 wickets, didn't he? 4 for 79. And then, West Indies as well. Nkrumah Bonner, we just need to talk about him for a moment. 123 off 355 deliveries, Rob. 558 minutes. There is a 6 in there, but 12 fours as well. But that man loves a dot ball. And it was just a really, really solid innings from the guy. It was a difficult pitch to bowl on, difficult pitch. He just took his time. He was just going to, you shall not get me out. And then the second innings as well, he was the one that basically battered through with Jason Holder. 38 for Bonner off 138 deliveries, 178 minutes. He takes up time at the crease. He's an ascending player for West Indies and a very important one. Not everybody needs to be smashed the ball to all parts. You need those gritty, determined, Dean Elgar-esque gritty players to do a job for you, don't you?
Yeah, you know what? It's such a rarity. Like, he's coming to this test team. He's only 10 games into his test career, 10 matches. He's averaging 49 during that time. 2 centuries to his name. One against a decentish England bowling set, which we'll touch on in a second. But he's coming from a place of only 5 first-class centuries by the time he's 33. Like, the maths don't match up to what he's getting. And sure, there'll be regression to the mean over the time. But for now, just enjoy it. This is the peak of your cricketing career, mate. Like, you're averaging 49 in Test cricket. You've scored more hundreds in the last 2 years than Virat Kohli. Let that sink in.
And Steve Smith. And
Steve Smith.
Kane Williamson. Look, I just think it's amazing. I think you get that opportunity later in your career and you're like, absolutely, I'm not giving this away. I'm taking this as long as I can possibly take this run I'm getting. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure I stay here. Because there are some talented players not in this West Indies side at the moment. So it's important that these players that have been given trust from the captaincy and the coaches to really come through and just see what they can do. And man of the match performance from him. I think that tells you everything you need to know about his performance in this game. West Indies with the bat, like we said, Nkrumah got 123. A lot of starts, but Craig Braithwaite, the captain, 55. Campbell, 35. Jason Holder, 45. Didn't really get going. They did put 375 up, so obviously beat the first innings score of England. But then England batted so well in the second innings, didn't they? Like you said, the 2 Centurions, Jack Crawley and Joe Root, put on a mammoth stand. Dan Lawrence has done okay in this test match with about 37 to go alongside his 20 in the first one. So he's going to want to do a little bit better to solidify his place. But Alex Lees on debut, Rob. 4 off 9 deliveries in the first innings and 6 off 27 in the second innings. What have you seen of him? What were your thoughts on him? We're not going to panic. It's only his first game, but what's your thoughts? Panic!
Panic! Where's that panic? Where's that big red button? When we did the County Championship preview podcast last year, and I think it was our first podcast back after 2 years, I had some stats and I said, Alex Lees is a good player. Scores runs in county cricket. That's great. Go score runs. But he gets out under 10 more than any other opener that's anywhere near the top tier of English openers. So it's kind of, this is going to happen. And he's being tested in different ways. How many times does he open the batting in county cricket and he's got Kamar Roach with 230, 250 test wickets, bowling round the wicket, taking it away from him and then just doing him with a straight one. Like, it's high-class quality bowling, good speed. It's going to be a challenge. But all you can do is back him, give him time. And one thing that he's done really well is in England, he scored his runs at difficult grounds. It's not like he's playing at the Kensington Oval every single week and, the par score's 400. He's played a lot of games at the Riverside. He's played a lot of games at Headingley, which means he's played some cricket at Scarborough. It's difficult places to score runs. And if he's gone and scored average 40, 50 in first-class cricket playing at those grounds, that's worth more than averaging 50 down at Surrey. So just got to give him time. He's earned his chance.
Yeah.
He can score runs. He can score big runs.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I completely agree. It's a little bit tricky one for me because I'm a little bit nervous. I think it's because I'm a little bit invested in Lees as a cricketer. I've always liked him and been very fond of him ever since I saw him as quite a young player coming to play for Yorkshire at Trent Bridge. So you want to see these players do well, the ones that you get behind. And in the warm-up game, he was very slow, very sedate. And I just worry that he's going to bog himself down a little bit. I always remember Nick Compton at the end of his run in the English team. He was just not getting out. I will not get out. But he forgot to score runs. So you can face 50 deliveries. Yeah, exactly. There's so many players we can look to, isn't it? They just get it wrong in their mind of what the task in hand is. It's two jobs, isn't it? It's to survive, to stay there. And obviously, if you stay there, you've got the opportunity to score runs. And you need to remember that part. That's all I'm saying. No criticism of Lees at the moment, but it's just that's my little initial niggle in my mind that I don't want him to get too focused on. I need to make sure I bat an hour. I need to make sure I bat till lunch. If he's opening in that next game, which obviously he will be. So good luck to him. So I suppose we need to get on to the bowlers, don't we? No Jimmy Anderson, no Stuart Broad. Yeah, I'm a little bit underwhelmed. We must say at this point, though, Mark Wood, elbow injury. If there's a fast bowler that England are trying to build around, they're going to get injured at some point. And Mark Wood has been so good in the last year or so, performance-wise, most wickets in Australia, but also fitness-wise. He started to prove to himself and to everybody else that he can play test matches one after the other. But he's got himself an elbow injury. Jofra Archer, anyone? Elbow injury? Yeah. Worrying. So we don't know what's going to happen with him in the second test. There is big doubts about him, but there is good news that Ollie Robinson is back in full practice ahead of that game as well. So Mark Wood was a big miss.
Didn't we bowl rubbish, though?
Let's cut to the chase.
This is good, and we're talking positives, and we've had 5 decent days of English cricket for the first time in maybe 18 months. But didn't we bowl some rubbish? Woakes and Overton was absolutely woeful with the new ball in that first innings.
Arguably, should either of them be playing an away test match, opening the bowling? This is what it comes back to. I'm not just going back to the Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad argument, which is a fair one, but also Woakes. We spoke about this enough. They love Woakes. They absolutely love Woakes. So they want to force it in the team. And we've had this with players over the years. We're more so batting. Keep giving them a go. Keep giving them a go. Keep giving them a go because they want it to work. It will eventually. That's the theory, isn't it? But he shouldn't probably be playing in an overseas test match because he shouldn't, mate.
I sent a tweet about it, and I was looking through, and it was overseas records, and I think it was from 2018 to 2022. I'm going back to the Anderson Broad thing, but it's just a marker in time. Jimmy Anderson, 50 wickets at 21 away from home in the last 4 years. Outstanding. Yep. Broad, 49 wickets at 25. Ollie Robinson's injured 11 wickets at 25. Mm-hmm. So that puts you pressure onto Mark Wood. An unfit Ben Stokes, who was actually bowling pretty good and looked pretty fit in this game. Yeah. But Overton, 3 wickets at 51 before this test. And Woakes, 14 wickets at 50 from 224 overs. That is a good amount of overs to work out whether he's good enough to play cricket for England and take the new ball away from home.
Yeah, absolutely. You've heard me say it enough times about Mark Wood. He doesn't take enough wickets. That was what I've always said. He's been playing much better in the last year or so I give him that credit. Yeah. But Woakes, 1 for 88 in 30 overs. That's not the strike rate you're looking for the guy that's taken the new cherry in the first ball of the inning.
It wasn't control either.
Yeah, and that's what we're desperate for him. I mean, he's gone at less than 3 and over, so you're looking at the stats and you think, no, he's bowled okay. But he's not taking wickets, and like you said, he's not bowled accurately enough in this innings, hasn't he? Yeah. Overton, for me, I'm sorry, if we're ever in a position where Craig Overton is opening the bowling for an England test side, until I've seen something different, I don't think that that's a good thing. I don't dislike Craig Overton, and if he's your 4th seamer, or even, first change seamer, maybe, I don't mind too much, but I don't want him as one of my main 2 bowlers, which is, if you're giving him the new ball, you've got to say that's what he is. Saki Mahmoodi's on this tour. Matt Fisher's on this tour. Obviously, Ollie Robinson's in the background. You'd imagine he'll come straight back in instead of Wood. But that then gives me too much of the same. Don't want to get ahead to the next game too much, but we're too much of the same in this squad. So we need something different. And I think Mahmood is the one that does give you that little bit of an X factor.
Yeah. You said the same thing in the preview pod, eh? You bang on point that we're putting the same standard English bowler out on the pitch. And what was the outcome? We we had the wicketkeeper standing up to Chris Woakes, the opening bowler for England, and I would
Great
be
keeper.
gutted if I was that bowler. I would be gutted.
Exactly. I don't mind it these days, but yeah, if you've got the new cherry and you're running in, you're not going to want that. I'm disappointed with this England stack. It was a very unresponsive pitch. We have to be fair. It wasn't an easy wicket to extract pace, bounce, etc. It was a very strange track, wasn't it? I think the West Indies coach. Oh my God, how can I forget his name?
Phil Simmons.
Phil Simmons, legend. Phil Simmons. He was saying it was like playing at Trent Bridge. So I mean, it was just saying, which I thought was a strange one, but on the last day. So yes, unresponsive track. We can give a little bit of I don't want to say a pass, but maybe just a little bit of an asterisk next to some of these performances. But we need a massive improvement in the second test with the ball if we're going to make any inroads into the series. Bear in mind, we've not won a test series in West Indies since 2004. So it's all good. The coach Collingwood's talking about how together this team is, and everybody's right behind Joe Root. And every comment I'm hearing about this, I'm thinking, is he trying to say something without saying something? About Broad and Anderson?
Yeah, I'm having to say the opposite to make you think it, because everything's all right. There's nothing to see here.
Yeah, the coach Joe Root's got hold of this team, and he's got everybody behind him, and the effort was perfect. It's like, is anybody trying to say something about people not here?
He probably has, mate, because the top six has performed really well in this game.
This is just my paranoia jumping in. I just think I'm just reading in between the lines of every comment that everyone's making at the moment.
Yeah, but they all want a job. Joe Root wants to remain as captain, but it's not Collingwood's decision. And Collingwood would like a job going forward, I'm sure, as well. I'm not saying that's why they're saying it, but I'm just, tongue-in-cheek making a comment. But wasn't it good to see Ben Stokes looking fit and being able to bowl a decent lick again?
Yes, but again, it's that thing, isn't it? I don't know if I'm becoming an overprotective person here, in as you spoke about earlier, middle age, Rob. Don't like that. But we over-bowled him in Australia when he's coming back from fitness, from his fitness issues. I don't want to see him being over-bowled. I know Mark Wood went off injured, so it presents an issue, doesn't it? Especially if you're not really getting much from Jack Leach in the first innings of a test match, which we never really do. Much better record in the second innings. We need to mention that in a moment as well. But I don't want to see Ben Stokes bowling nearly 30 overs in an innings. 28 overs, 2 for 42. Brilliant figures. But 28 overs, I just want to build him up. Let's just be a little bit more careful with Ben Stokes, please.
Got to take care of him. Got to wrap him in ice, because we need him from a batting perspective, and we need him from a filling in overs for the balance of the team perspective to allow us to play like a Leach or a Parkinson, someone that's real, like one tool player. I bowl, spin. That's all I do. That's all I add to the team. And look cool with glasses. Like that's great. Yeah. So we need to keep him fit.
Yeah. So Jack Leach for the game. So first innings, 2 for 79 off 43.3 overs. That is a long old spell. 20 maidens, provided some control.
He did
okay. Not the most assistance you've ever seen in the world. Second innings, this is where this is probably the one moment apart from the Centurions. We got a little bit excited, wasn't it? 3 for 57 off 30 overs, and it was what do we say? 4 wickets for 8 runs either side of T. With Jack Leach obviously taking 3 of those, and that was at the point where it's like, ooh, hello, we could be on for the game here. Before the anchor was dropped. The brakes were put on. Bonner, Holder et al. Said, no, that's it. No one else is getting out. So Jack Leach, 5 wickets for the game. Bowled a hell of a lot of overs. Looked better in the second innings. When you look at his stats, it's night and day, isn't it? I think he's averaging closer to about 80 in the first innings. I might be exaggerating by a long way there, but it feels like that.
You're not far off. He averages 50 in the first innings, but 20 in the second innings.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure he's not alone as a spinner with the discrepancy like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really tough one, isn't it? On this tour, the way I'm looking at this tour, especially in the light of Broad and Anderson, going to keep mentioning those names, especially in light of those boys not here, I want to see some opportunities given to some other players. And as much as I like Jack Leach, I don't think the England setup love him. And if that's the case, would I have preferred to have seen Matt Parkinson bowling on the 5th day, bowling his leg is attacking, trying to win a test match for England? And I have to say, I would have rather have seen Matt Parkinson in this 11 for that very reason.
And that's quite harsh, because this has been a really good performance from Leach. given how he's performed over the last year and how he's been treated, as soon as he kind of doesn't provide maximum output, it's like, oh, well, we need to change up and let's get Don Best bowling some full bungers. And and I think it's fed into fans that could we do better with someone else? But Leach has actually provided control and taken some wickets. But then you can look at it and say, well, he bowled 30 overs in the second innings and picked up 3 wickets. That's a strike rate of 60.
Which is basically what Shane Warne's record was in a Test match career. About 59 something. So it's a really weird one, isn't it? And we don't give enough credit and respect for Jack Leach, but I think you made the right point. It's because we don't feel like England give him enough credit and respect.
Yeah,
and he feels like one of those players that they're looking for somebody to replace him eventually. But we don't trust leg spin bowling in this country, as an English cricket perspective. And I don't know why that is. Why is Matt Parkinson on tour again if he's not going to be used? We're not going to play 2 spinners in West Indies. It's not happening. I don't think it is. I think it would be remarkable if that did happen, especially if he can't bat much. So I'd just like to see him given an opportunity. I think that's the main thing, isn't it? I want to see what he can do in a Test match. Can he bowl with control? Can he look threatening? I think he can take wickets, but it's the other parts of it as well. He needs to provide that control for Joe Root. But, we might not need any spinners in this one because we've got Dan Lawrence twirling in.
That's an action. That's a proper action.
Beautiful. He bamboozles the batsman. It puts him in a daze with all these arms flapping around before the ball gets to him. So I can see what he's doing.
What's been said then? So I see Carlos Brathwaite's been having his 2 penneth about England being disrespectful about playing out the length of the game.
Yes. So, you get into that last hour, don't you? And at any point, you can shake hands.
Yeah.
As a captain to say, that's it, boys. Well played. We'll take the draw. And England took the game into the last over when they still needed 6 wickets. And they only shook hands after the first ball had been bowled, therefore making it absolutely impossible for the game to be won for England. I just find it weird. And I think what Brathwaite was saying was a very good point. I don't think we would have done this to India or Australia. I think we would have gone and shook hands earlier. So it's not a big point. I quite like the fact that Root has got his players out there as long as possible, in the conditions, working as hard as possible, seeing what they can get out of the game. Can we pick a couple more wickets up for these people, bowl these guys into a bit of form? We've just spoke about how the seamers weren't exceptional. But I also very much understand where Brathwaite's coming from as well. I think it was, you need 6 wickets, lads. These 2 boys were absolutely set. They hadn't just arrived at the crease. You'd understand that if we just took a wicket. Let's go. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. New man at the crease. But yeah, I just think it was a little bit of a strange one. I'd hope Joe Root maybe just has a good explanation behind closed doors. Let's put it that way.
That feels like a Collingwood thing to me. That feels like gritty Collingwood and maybe trying to realign the ethos and winning mentality into the team that we play hard. We're a good team. We're a nice team a lot of the time as well, and let's be a bit tougher on the pitch.
I can take that. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, like I said, I think behind the scenes it'd be nice if there's just a little quiet word across the camps, maybe just to explain the thinking behind it. They don't have to do anything they don't want to do, but it's I can see. Look, you know what it's like. You can say the most innocuous, innocent thing in the build-up to a Test match, and that can be the thing that the coach pins on the notice board in the dressing room, going, "You seen what they're saying about you?"
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I didn't mean it like that. It doesn't matter. Yeah. That's now motivation. This is now motivation. We've played games where you're like, the old losing, winning, draw cricket, where you're like, you are not getting, 9 wickets down, 20 overs to go. We're shutting up shop. We're not going to give you that extra point. We're not giving you the win. You can have the winning draw, but that's all you're having. You do it to kind of spoil, don't you? And by England's making that decision to stay out there, we're going to make you back. We're going to keep going. But if anything, it was probably the moral victory for West Indies, because of the fact that they didn't lose any more wickets in that last 10 overs.
Who's happier after the game, mate?
I think West Indies, on that track where you're going to struggle to take 20 wickets regardless, no matter how well Jaden Searles and Kamal Roach and others have bowled, I think West Indies will take that and go, that's great. We're in good position here. Take it over to Barbados in the second test. All we need is one win. England won't win a Test match out here.
Yeah,
I think that's the way they'll be thinking of this.
I think West Indies will be happy. I also think England will come away happy going, our top 6 is looking better.
Yeah.
We like what we've got going on with the top 6 at the moment.
Yeah. Absolutely. And batting wise, I think there's so many positives to take from this. I think Alex Lees is a question. Dan Lawrence has wanted to establish himself if we've given this opportunity. But it was so nice to see a declaration, and quite a bold declaration at that, from Joe Root to try and set up a victory, wasn't it? West Indies didn't go for it. We should mention that. They didn't have any intent to go and win this game, which is what we've criticised England for in the past. Yeah. So there probably needs to be a minor criticism of West Indies for not thinking they could go and do that. But hey, it's up to them, isn't it? So yeah, positives with the bat, most definitely, mate.
Yeah. And Bridgetown next starts in 3 days. So Wood's out and Robinson's fully fit, or
I don't know. I mean, we don't know. I mean, with what they were talking about in the Ashes, has he ever been fully fit? I've got no idea. I think if Robinson's near fitness, he's coming back in. I think he's basically the senior member of this attack now.
Yeah.
Give or take. I mean, they want Woakes to be, but on record in the last 12 months or so, Robinson is probably the senior or most important cog of that bowling attack. I would like to see, if Robinson comes back in, let's say Robinson in, Wood out, I would also like to see Saki Mahmood come in for Overton. That's my changes. And if I really want to be a little bit crazy, I would probably have Parkinson in for Leach. Nothing that Leach has done wrong, but I just want to see Parkinson.
You want to see Parkinson? I want to see Parkinson, man.
Get Parko.
I think they'll stick with Leach because I think this is one of Leach's better performances.
Yep,
and I feel that they are going to move away from rest and rotation policy. And I think everyone in that unit that's got an input will say that really hampered us. And when we made decisions about rest and rotation, we played the wrong guys on the wrong pitches and the wrong time. So I think you'll see as much solidity as you can. I think your top 7 sorted. Folks had a good knock. I think he dropped one behind the stumps, but he looked pretty tidy with the gloves other than that, which is what you'd expect. I saw a stat actually about his wicket-keeping chance taking from wicket keepers is one of the lowest in world cricket since he debuted, which will just change with time and being out there. But likewise, he's probably kept in Sri Lanka and dropping one here. Not saying he's a bad keeper; he's an excellent keeper. Just making a point.
Yeah,
Robinson comes in. I would like to see Saqib Mahmood in this lineup as well. I think. What do you want to do? Right, you've got a test match under your belt. You've scored some runs. Sure, we don't know what the Bridgetown pitch is going to be like, but you want to take 20 wickets. How are you going to win a game of cricket? Saqib Mahmood's going to give you the best option to take wickets in a cluster, to me. How can you knock over a couple in the middle order quickly? Saqib Mahmood can do that. Who could potentially take a wicket in the middle of the innings coming on for a 4-over spell? Saqib Mahmood. Not saying he's the greatest bowler of all time by any stretch of the imagination, but he bowls different. He can bowl reverse swing. He can move the old ball and he can bowl at 86, 87 mile an hour, which I feel is something we're going to desperately need in the next test.
Yeah, and he's got a little bit of aggression about him as well, hasn't he? He's got that little spark, and they're the cricketers that excite me. And with all due respect to Overton, I like Overton as a cricketer, but I don't love him. Mahmood's the sort of guy that I know that I have the chance to fall in love with him because he's got that something special, hasn't he? He's got that spark, he's got that grittiness, determination, all the rest of it. Overton just looks a bit grumpy sometimes. that's his aggression.
Overton's an honest cricketer, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's solid.
You see what you get.
If I'm a captain, I would love to have him.
Yes, definitely. I think we should give props to Root as well on one, more aggressive captaincy than we've seen in a long time from an England team, but 2, making the move to number 3 and scoring 100. So 2021, his greatest year in Test cricket. The form hasn't just gone out the window. He's still going and still scoring runs, and it's just another century, number 24 for the skipper.
Keep them coming. Roll on the next test, mate. I can't wait for it. Looking forward to a bit of sunshine coming through my television again. Shall we give if anyone is still here, if anyone's still listening, good on you, love you. You're the real fans. Should we give any Indian cricket fans a little treat if they're wandering around at this moment in this podcast and talk about India, Sri Lanka?
Yes, let's do it.
I think
cheeky Indian stop.
Yeah, absolutely. So just quickly before we get on to the test match, because they're into the second test match of the 2 test match series now in India hosting Sri Lanka. But just quickly, there was 3 T20s before this, Rob, all won convincingly by India. Margins of 62 runs, 6 wickets and 7 wickets. That's convincing. Ishan Kishan and Shreyas Iyer in the runs in the first game, 89 and 57 not out respectively. Shreyas Iyer has just been incredible. So in the 3 games, 57 not out, 73 not out and 73 not out. He's been quality, just top draw. Sri Lanka did pretty well. Patham Nissanka did get a few runs in the, I think it might have been the second game. It was just a dominant performance. I think we've just got to say, Shreyas Iyer is 27 now. We've been speaking about India a little while, haven't we? About who's going to become, come through and take the opportunities and remove the responsibility away from the Kohlis and Sharmas, etc. Is it his time? Is it his? It
is.
Has he got the?
Yeah, it's 100% his time, mate. He's absolute quality, and it's not just T20 cricket. T20 cricket, he averages 33 at a strike rate of 130. He's come into T20 international cricket hitting at 140, 650s already in his career from 32 innings, 10 not outs in that as well, and that's what happens in successful teams. You do end up with a lot of not outs. Thrown into that, he made his Test match debut last year, scored 100. Got a 50 in that as well. He's the real deal, mate. He's multi-format player for this team going forward, and same probably for Ishan Kishan when he's playing. It's really good seeing him scoring runs based off the back of really good IPL sessions. And Sanju Samson, who was quite high on a few years ago in the IPL, he's come in and he's 12 games into his career. He's not quite at the same impact, but there's just a conveyor belt. And I think that's what really sticks out when I look at these results. And I watched a bit of the games, and I was like, "Wow, the game's done!" Like it's done quite quickly. You can see it. There's just a gulf in class and a gulf in quality on the pitch. And after the last T20 World Cup, we went, "Oh, Sri Lankan cricket's in a better space," and it is in a better space. Yeah. But like most of world cricket, there's being at the bottom, being in a good space, and then there's India at the top, and everyone's just chasing their heels and getting nowhere near it.
Yeah, it's a really tough series for Sri Lanka, isn't it? I mean, obviously, India have convincingly won the 3 T20s, 3-0, as we said. And we're into the second test, which Sri Lanka are up against it. I think we've got to say that. But the first test was quite incredible, really. India, 574 for 8 declared, won by an innings and 220. Sri Lanka, 174 and 178 following on. Ravindra Jadeja, 175 not out, 5 for 41, 4 for 46. Somebody stole a wicket off him in the second innings to deprive him of a 10 for an 175 not out. That's probably got to be one of the best performances, all-round performances in a test match for many, many a year.
It is. I think there's... I could be wrong saying this, but I know I've seen it. I think there's 4 players ever that scored 150 and a 5 for in the same game.
And he nearly did it twice, getting 2 fifers.
Yeah, there's also Ian Botham is the only guy to score 100 and a 5 for 3 times in a test match.
Wow.
So that's stage it just goes from good to great. Like that's kind of where he is cross format. Like he's great in T20 international cricket. He can bat up the order and get on with it a bit more now than he used to be able to, and his strike rate's gone through the roof. Always capable of taking wickets, 241 wickets at an average of 24 in Test match cricket, 48 wickets at 27, an economy rate of 7, like bang on 7 in T20 international cricket. Pretty and he's just like having that depth. He comes in at like number 7. He might come in at number 8. He might come in at 5. He might come in at 6. They've got so much versatility and class around that middle order. It just makes them an incredibly hard team to beat. And Jadeja's class. He's just world class. Like he'd walk into any team in the world.
Yeah, absolutely, Rob. It's so nice to see him get one of those performances. He's another one of those cricketers that you like to watch because he's fun, he's exciting. You know something's going to happen. He's just got that about him, hasn't he? Ravichandran Ashwin also had a pretty good game with the ball, as you would expect if a spinner's took 9 wickets. He got himself, I think, 6 wickets in the game and a 61 as well. batting below Jadeja. Rishabh Pant, need to give him a quick mention, 96 off 97. Test match cricket and Rishabh Pant, it's just fun. He's not going to always get himself runs, but if he does, he's going to do it quickly. Long may it continue. So convincing winning that one. We're into the final game of this series, I believe. I'm not sure if there's any ODIs. I'd have to check. But India v Sri Lanka, 252 and 303 for 9 declared for India versus a 109 and currently 93 for 1 as we record, needing another 354 runs for victory. We're going to have to assume it's an India win. We're going to have to, aren't we? As simple as that. Sherasira, we've just mentioned, he's got himself 92 in this game, as well as 67. So he's continuing his really good form. Do you want to talk about the Sri Lankan openers just very briefly?
Yeah,
seeing as though we rated them as the best.
That was all you.
Sorry, definitely you.
Yeah, and you know what? They deserved to have that based on how good they had been against everyone other than India. And it's okay to be like that. And then they've turned up over here and they've been absolutely sandwiched. Tiramani's been an absolute chocolate fireguard. Like, you turn up the temperature and he's melting at the crease and he's gone for a duck. He's gone for 3. Karunaratne is fighting back. 37 in this innings, quality right? Player. 447 runs to win is the score. If Sri Lanka win this, I am standing by my point that Sri Lanka have the best openers in world cricket, even though one of them's only top scored 37 so far in the whole series. Yes. The other one to point out is how good Rishabh Pant has been throughout this series. Scoring runs. He scored, I think it's the quickest Indian Test match 50 in this. He scored 50 off about 25 balls or 28 balls. Incredible performance. But it's the consistency of the cricket that he's been able to put out time and time again. He's averaging 40 in Test match cricket. We know 40 is a very good number in Test match cricket these days and puts you in that elite category. He's doing that, and he's only 24 years old. But he's doing that at a strike rate of 70. And there's only ever been 4 players in the game that's averaged 40 and got a strike rate of over 70. And I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. One was Sehwag, one was David Warner, one is Rishabh Pant, and then there's someone else thrown on the list as well. But that's the sort of elite quality company that he's having with his career so far. And the numbers are good at home. He averages 63 at home, 35 away. 35 away is above average, mate. That's pretty useful. And he's just getting better. And you look at his year on year, he averaged 17 and he had a strike rate of 54. Last year, an average of 39, a strike rate of 67. This year, average of 54, strike rate of 84. He's getting better, and he's batted from 4 to 8 in the order. He can do it all. He does tease.
He's just fun. He's absolute box office. I'd love to know what you think is a great home average. If good is 63 or whatever it was.
Yeah, tough crowd.
It's good. It's all right. It's okay. Yeah, he's class. He's absolutely class. Real-time updates, Rob. Sri Lanka have just lost the second wicket. Mendes has gone 54, so it's all about Karunaratne now.
It is.
Still another 350 runs to win. The game will be done by the time you listen to this, but just a little bit of fun as we're sat here chatting. India are looking fantastic. Rishabh Pant has got a solid 6 above him or 5 above him, depending on where he's batting, which is probably the big difference between why he has been able to take this confidence and take this strike rate into Test cricket, whereas a Jos Buttler just couldn't. Maybe if he freed himself up, Jos, we could have been talking in the same way about Jos Buttler, but for whatever reason, let's blame the top 4 and let's blame the top 6 for England.
Gilchrist.
A little bit for that. Yeah,
Gilchrist was the 4th man, averaging over 40 and strike rate of 70.
The mould. He was an exceptional player.
As soon as you said Jos Buttler, I went, oh, Adam Gilchrist, because those two go in the same conversation together these days.
Really? Fair enough. Not sure why. No, I'm not going to go there. Anyway, look, so much good cricket being played at the moment, isn't it? The West Indies game is so finely balanced. England, as happy as they are with their performance, need to go one step better. They need to just up the game a little bit with the ball, and who knows, we might be able to get a Test win. I'm very, very envious as well about all those people sipping rum, dancing, and doing all those things they're doing whilst watching cricket. I would take a good sunburn today if I was in Barbados watching cricket. So,
Me too. Good times, mate. Second Test match rolling around the corner. There's cricket on TV every night in New Zealand. The Women's Cricket World Cup's going on, which is thoroughly enjoyable, and is getting on national TV as well, which is always good for the game, good for the soul. And Pakistan, Australia going for 3 more days on the road with no more wickets going. So I'm going to keep myself busy, and we'll be back next week to talk about what England have gone and done and the resurgence of Zach Crawley. You know, not all averages are equal. I averaged 10 this year. Well done, mate. That's because you didn't do very well. Well, he's doing very well now, and it's good to see, and long may it continue. So thanks for listening, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe, rate, review, wherever you are, wherever you're listening. We're available on all podcast platforms. We're available on Twitter at Leading Edge Pod, and we will see you guys next time.